Another crisis hits Trump as reports of severe strain aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln raise fresh questions over U.S. military readiness. Sailors aboard Trump's flagship carrier are reportedly facing severe burnout, with some allegedly attempting to jump overboard. The USS Abraham Lincoln crew is reportedly struggling with low morale and exhaustion, prompting concerns from sailors' families. The carrier has reportedly gone extended periods without regular port visits, while families raised concerns over basic supplies and living conditions. Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth face fresh pressure over war readiness as the carrier's prolonged deployment reportedly takes a toll on its crew. The USS Abraham Lincoln is reportedly facing serious strain, with sailors dealing with exhaustion and declining morale during its extended deployment. Some sailors reportedly attempted to jump overboard as burnout and psychological strain intensified aboard the carrier. Reports describe low morale and exhaustion among sailors as the deployment continued well beyond its original schedule. Sailors' families reportedly raised concerns about living conditions aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, including crew members' mental health. The USS Abraham Lincoln was deployed in November 2025 and was originally expected to return home in May 2026. But as the conflict with Iran continued, the carrier's deployment was reportedly extended indefinitely. The ship also reportedly went long periods without regular port visits, limiting opportunities for maintenance, rest, and crew recovery. Active duty sailors and family members reportedly described a bleak atmosphere aboard the carrier amid the prolonged deployment. Families also reportedly raised concerns about shortages of food and other basic supplies aboard the ship. The ship's store was reportedly running low on everyday essentials including toothpaste, soap, and deodorant. The U.S. Navy said it was monitoring the psychological readiness of sailors amid concerns over the prolonged deployment. The Pentagon said the USS Theodore Roosevelt strike group was preparing to relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln. However, the Pentagon did not provide a timeline for the relief, citing operational security. The carrier remained at sea without returning to a home port for more than 200 consecutive days, a stretch that tests the limits of both its crew and its machinery. The deployment has now become the longest continuous at-sea stretch recorded for a modern aircraft carrier, surpassing benchmarks that naval planners once considered extreme. According to Military Watch magazine, the Lincoln sailed from San Diego on November 21, 2025, beginning what would become a record-breaking and grueling journey across multiple theaters. After a single day's stop at Guam, the carrier stayed at sea without returning to any port, kept in the water by the relentless pace of global commitments and crisis demands. The Lincoln first operated in the South China Sea, signaling resolve to Beijing, before pivoting to the Arabian Sea as the confrontation with Iran escalated rapidly. On February 3, an F-35C launched from the Lincoln shot down an Iranian Shahed-139 attack drone, marking one of the earliest direct engagements of the escalating Iran conflict. After Operation Epic Fury was launched on February 28, the Lincoln's air wing conducted strikes against Iranian targets, turning the carrier into the spearhead of the U.S. campaign. The Lincoln's record deployment throws into sharp relief the growing pressure on America's 11-carrier fleet, which was never designed to fight this many adversaries simultaneously. The Trump administration is facing mounting pressure over when the Lincoln's exhausted crew will finally be allowed to return home. Acting Navy Secretary Hung Chow and senior admirals have reportedly faced angry questions from families demanding answers over the prolonged deployment. Remember, the USS Gerald R. Ford also encountered serious problems during its lengthy 326-day deployment at sea. The Ford experienced failures in its sewage systems, while a subsequent fire also struck areas used for crew berthing. Claims of possible sabotage remain unverified, despite speculation that prolonged deployments and mounting crew strain may have contributed to the problems. These allegations have intensified questions over the human cost of America's prolonged military operations and the pressure placed on its sailors. Trump says Washington is low-keying it with Iran, signaling no immediate new U.S. offensive as the administration waits to see whether pressure and diplomacy deliver a breakthrough. The U.S. president says his administration is only semi-negotiating with Tehran, according to Axios, reflecting the absence of a full direct diplomatic process. Trump says the US is just watching Iran as economic pressure continues to bear down on Tehran. Trump says the US naval blockade has deepened economic pressure on Iran, precisely the policy Tehran wants removed before it agrees to fully reopen Hormuz. Trump also argues that oil prices above $75 a barrel have limited the war's impact on US consumers, even as Hormuz tensions continue to unsettle global energy markets. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "We are low-keying it. We are only semi-negotiating with them. We are just watching Iran with its huge inflation and the fact they have no money. It will work out. It always works out. It's like a chess game." Unquote. Trump's remarks suggest Iran's resistance has kept Washington from immediate military escalation, even as US pressure and threats remain in place. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says Tehran backs talks with the US from a position of power and unity, arguing that negotiations must secure Iran's legitimate rights, not require surrender.
I believe the present moment is the most opportune time for an agreement between Iran and the US, where there's cohesion, power, and unity. And as far as I know, and perhaps you know even more, we can compel the entire world to perceive Iran as a true victor of this war and conflict. Armed with this authority, we can secure our legitimate rights through these dialogues. Ultimately, they must acknowledge and grant us what is rightfully ours. Naturally, we seek nothing beyond the rights and due entitlements of our country and our people. We remain determined, God willing, to proceed with that same Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, provided that the U.S. stops fostering an atmosphere of mistrust and instead cultivates a climate of genuine confidence, because America is indeed profoundly unreliable. Nevertheless, if we can make any meaningful headway toward resolving the outstanding issues, we are sparing no effort to do so.
Iran's Supreme National Security Council has revealed drastic new conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz amid the ongoing standoff with Washington. Iran said the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed until the US corrected its behavior, according to Iranian state broadcaster Press TV. Council Secretary Mohammad Bagher Zolgoda announced the conditions, with Iranian state media detailing Tehran's demands for reopening the strategic waterway. Iran's latest position turned reopening the Strait of Hormuz into a broader demand for major concessions from the United States. Iran has demanded an end to all US threats and what it calls insults to Iran's national and religious values. Tehran wants attacks on Iran and its allies in Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, and Iraq to be permanently halted. Iran has called for the US naval blockade to be lifted and US naval and air forces withdrawn from around Iran. Tehran is demanding compensation for damage caused by what it describes as two imposed wars. Iran has also demanded the removal of all US sanctions imposed against the country. Tehran is seeking the unconditional release of all Iranian assets currently frozen abroad. However, journalist Barak Ravid said the conditions were demands that the United States clearly cannot accept. Barak Ravid warned that Iran's demands could leave President Trump with fewer diplomatic options and push Washington back toward a military response.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HD app. Download now.